Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Breakthrough Innovation. With us today is Zach Rattner, a visionary AI entrepreneur, author, and CTO who has been at the forefront of AI innovation for over 15 years. That's probably before I really realized AI had become a real thing, so that's awesome. Zach is the co-founder and chief technology officer of Yembo, a global leader in AI-powered virtual surveys that has inspected over 4 million videos across 20 plus countries. Zach's journey is nothing short of extraordinary. He founded his AI company back in 2016 and has deployed over 1,000 AI solutions and holds 25 granted US patents with more pending. His deep expertise in AI, automation, and entrepreneurship has made him a top AI voice on LinkedIn, and his new book, Grow Up Fast, offers a behind-the-scenes look at the thrilling highs and lows of building an AI startup. In today's episode, we'll explore how Zach built an AI-driven company from the ground up, his insights on Agentic AI, which I'm excited about, and what it takes to launch a successful AI initiative. So if you're a leader looking to integrate AI into your business, or you simply want to learn from someone who took his first startup from zero to its first million in revenue, this is the conversation for you. Zach, I'm super excited about this. I want to dive into some things about AI that we really haven't hit before, which I think is going to be great. And we're absolutely thrilled to have you on the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, JL and Preston.
Yeah, excited for it. So I think maybe the best place to start is with your book. And I know I haven't read it yet. We're going to exchange copies of books here shortly, which I'm excited about. But it's called Grow Up Fast, and it chronicles your startup journey, which is fantastic. I wonder, though, what are the biggest lessons, without giving it all away, what are the biggest lessons you learned about going from an employee mindset to a founder mindset?
So as you mentioned, the book is called Grow Up Fast, Lessons from an AI Startup. And I was concerned when I was starting it that I was going to forget. I had quit my cushy day job at a large tech company. I had founded Yembo, and a lot of those critical decisions that we made culture-wise, product-wise, business model-wise, we were maybe 2-3 employees. Most people at the company today were not there then. And I was worried if 10, 15, 20 years went by that I kind of forget all those important learnings. And so that's what kind of caused me to put it all together. And I think of it as open sourcing everything I've learned from starting an AI company. I'm a software engineer by training. I'm not an AI researcher, so I don't have a PhD, don't even have a master's degree. And I feel like the real value of AI is not just in making better models, but in taking those models and bringing them into places that otherwise would not have it. And if you go in the past and you look at the mobile revolution, personal computers, it wasn't just the manufacturers who made the handsets, who made the laptops that did really well. It was all the businesses that integrated into the workflow and adopted them and leveraged the power that the technology brought to further their goals. That's what makes me really excited about AI. It's not just for the gearheads and the nerds that want to tinker with it. It's the people that are working in all different industries, being able to do more things that they couldn't do before, do things that used to be very slow and now it's very fast. And I feel like this is a really interesting and exciting time to be in this industry, because all the rules of work are being rewritten right now. Sort of like if a mobile phone was just invented and no one else knew about it, it takes like a year or 2 years to kind of figure out what does that mean for productivity. And I feel like we're here today with AI, but it's not going to stay that way forever. So that's why it's a good time to roll up your sleeves and get into it.
I think one aspect that was really curious to me, just reading between the lines, it sounds like you are seeing AI as solutions to human problems. And we see so many people today that are like, we'll just use AI. And it's not even so much a solution for a problem. It's like
hammer.
Searching for a problem. Yeah, I now have a hammer. AI is my hammer, instead of like, what problems do humans need to have solved?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Preston. I think if your AI strategy is looking at TechCrunch or The Verge and seeing what's out there and playing with it, it may be fun on the weekend, but it's not really going to get you where you need to go. I have a pretty crisp example that I've seen in my industry. So Yembo sells computer vision technology to home services. We have 2 main lines of business, one for property insurance and one for moving. So if you imagine if you're moving from one state to another, the traditional way that you would get a quote is you would call a 1-800 moving company. They'd schedule an appointment. Someone would ring your doorbell, walk around, identify everything. This room here, you'd look at how many boxes would it take to fill up the books and along those lines. And then you get a quote. And it can take 1 week, it could take 2 weeks. It kind of depends on how long it is. So when we launched Yembo, the value proposition was you don't have to spend all this time scheduling because you can do it virtually. and you don't have to spend all your time on the phone or in a video chat with somebody counting cardboard boxes. You can take quick 20, 30-second videos of each room in the house. The AI identifies what's there. And you as the human are still in control. You can still make tweaks, edits if you need to. But that kind of more mundane aspect of the job where you have to count cardboard boxes is done for you. And that lets you focus on building rapport with the customer, kind of customizing the job to make sure that you're offering what they really need. And if you think about that as an example of AI, what would you do with it? Well, there's the obvious example of what you would do with it. Well, I would do more inspections. If I get more at-bats and I have a certain win rate, and maybe this increases my win rate, then more at-bats increases my revenue, right? And that certainly does happen. And we do have folks that use Yembo, and that's the main value proposition that they came for. But the part that I'm really excited about is we're also seeing folks do things that would just be completely impossible without AI. And I think that's where the really interesting white space and growth comes from. So now imagine this, just hypothetically, you're operating a moving company. Traditionally, sales are done by boots on the ground. That makes it really important that you have a physical presence somewhere. Otherwise, you can't drive out there in a day. But what happens if you move someone from New York to San Francisco? That truck has to come back to New York, right? Because it's your truck and you got a warehouse. So what we're seeing now is we're having customers will go and they may bid on Google AdWords because they know that they're going to have a truck in the geography that they don't exist in. Traditionally, that would be silly because you can't get out there, you can't do the sale. But if you know you have a certain window of time where that truck's coming back, you can use the AI to make you not haul air. And you can actually have a profitable job on the return trip. I think these are the kinds of examples that I find incredibly interesting because you need to be in the industry to kind of have that insight to connect the dots, put the puzzle pieces together. And I feel like we're just getting started on that. I feel like a lot of folks are focusing on maybe the more obvious ones, and that's not bad. It's good to do the obvious things. But I feel like where things can get really interesting are that white space where the AI isn't an alternative to a human. The AI is an alternative to doing nothing. And I feel like that's where there's real economic growth and value and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because you're talking about right now, AI, so much of it requires a human in the middle. Like, for instance, the show notes that everyone reads. I know you all read them. So yeah, those are AI generated. All right. And that doesn't mean I don't read them and edit them because sometimes the AI spells things wrong. Sometimes the AI does. So I have to be in the middle between AI and the posting of the show notes. That isn't always going to be the case though. And I think when we start looking in the future and we start talking about things like agentic AI, which is starting to become a little bit of a hot topic that we haven't really addressed on this show yet. I'm curious, Zach, since you have some experience there, how do you first define agentic AI? And then what impact are you seeing it having on industries in, say, the next 3-5 years?
Sure. So I would define agentic AI a certain way. You may talk to other folks who define it differently. Just like any buzzy term, there's always variations and riffs off of it. But I would define agentic AI as AI that is able to perform an action on its owner's behalf. So to give an example, there's an open source tool that I created about a month ago now. It's called Scourhead. And what Scourhead does is it is an agentic AI tool that creates research reports for you. And there are ways that you can do AI-powered searching, AI-powered research. But what this tool does is everything runs on your laptop and it's all totally free. I sort of did it as an example to just get the idea out there of, hey, folks, this is what agentic AI can do. And if you think about, imagine you're looking for guests to join your podcast. You can go and do a bunch of Google queries and look at people's pages and it would probably work, but it might take a long time. And what Scourhead does is it is a tool that uses large language models, and it uses a tool called Playwright, which automates the Chromium browser, and it'll go through and brainstorm. So you say, hey, I have a podcast, and these are the types of folks that I'd be interested in potentially interviewing. And it'll brainstorm, come up with search queries for you. You can still edit, you can still tweak it, you are still in control. But that heavy lifting of I got to come up with 20, it'll just spit some out for you. And then it'll go and actually do those searches, and click on each link, and it'll fill out a spreadsheet for you. You can define the columns that you're looking for, you describe the text, and it will go and it'll research each page and give you a spreadsheet back. And the first time I put something together for this, it was pretty exciting because I don't know about you, but when I sign off for work for the day, shut the lid to the laptop, nothing gets done. That laptop's just sitting there. And I feel like what agentic AI allows us to do is you leave your laptop open. And if you come by, this work that's getting done, but I'm not doing it. It's doing it on my behalf. And you can leave it for hours, days, if it's really complicated. And you can come back and you can have this full-blown spreadsheet of here's the person's name, here's the website, here's their background. And it's not a human, right? Like it made a spreadsheet. And that's where I feel like people tend to get tripped up, where they think of an agent as equivalent to a human, but it's not really an equivalent to a human. I would say it's more of it can take over a task. And that task, as the human can use it and digest it and tweak it, and I still benefit from it. But I feel like where we're going to enter into this year is you're going to see people having, just like we've got lots of apps in our dock, on our work machines, we'll have lots of AI agents because you still need that human orchestrator. It's still kind of hard to hold an AI accountable. If ChatGPT hallucinates, you don't really have a whole bunch of recourse, but as an employee, I think like you kind of need to be able to stand behind the output that you're giving. I think that's important in business. And I wouldn't be surprised if we ended this year with all the different things that it takes to kind of run a company, different departments as well. I think that you'll see more work getting done because AI is taking the amount of effort that it takes and shrinking it down. So the expectations on a person would just kind of increase, and then we can be more thorough, we can be more productive, we can get more done, and we don't have to like boil and go through page 97 of Google results trying to find something.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be long before AI tools, like from a founder perspective, I think it's really important to think about because the number of like no code tools that are available for prototyping, the number of tools, AI tools that are available to kind of help you run your business, to be like virtual assistants, those are really bumping up. It won't be long before I'll be like Scotty from Star Trek picking up my mouse and saying, computer, or give me tickets to Phoenix tomorrow or whatever. It's exciting to think about. It's also a little scary.
Yeah, and I think change is always scary, right? Because you know what you have, and maybe there are parts that we don't like, but it's a known quantity, and we all survived up to this point. But I feel like the opportunity that's here that you don't want to overlook is there are things about day-to-day work that are not great. There are problems that need to be solved. And I mean, as someone who's been a software engineer a long time, a great time to refactor something or to clean something up is when you're kicking up dust anyway. You're adding a new feature, like, hey, now's a good time to re-architect, come back in and clean this up. So I feel like if the rules of work are being rewritten now, it's a great time to let the folks that have the domain knowledge. This isn't just managers saying, hey, AI is going to replace XYZ. The rank and file folks that actually do the work, in my experience, doing all these AI deployments, they have the best insights into what it actually takes to have the trains run on time and have everything run smoothly. And those folks need a voice. So I'm actually excited with all the change that it's coming up because it makes a forum and an opportunity for, hey, work is going to change anyway. What do we like? What do we not like? And now we can go build it all together. So I would much rather have a kind of disrupted outside force kicking up some dust because it gives an excuse to look at these things that may otherwise just be glossed over or ignored.
I think that just puts the onus of control on people. I think several people, when we talk about AI, they're like, oh, it's going to do something to me, instead of taking some of that ownership themselves and saying, well, let me go use it and transform my own way of working. What happens in my day-to-day job? I think love that perspective of shifting who's responsible for it and making that the worker themselves. Yeah.
And I don't think Hollywood helped. I think having these Terminator movies, like if Hollywood was as obsessed with word processing as they are with AI, maybe we'd all be freaked out and not want to write documents. But at the end of the day, the AI is a tool,
Clippy takes
and the
over.
tool gets the job done. And I think Clippy's revenge.
Yeah, that's fantastic. No, I think that's amazing. I do think AI is going to disrupt things, but it's also going to help people deal with the disruption. As a founder, like the fact that I can go in and do so many amazing things with a very simple AI tool that saves me hours out of a day every day, it makes the idea of starting a company a much less scary thing. That said, we are hitting the wrap-up point. I'm curious, whether it's from your book, whether it's from the discussion today, what do you think people should take away from this conversation? What's the advice you want to leave people with?
If you're interested in working with AI, just get started. Look at the best companies that are out there, Tesla, ChatGPT. How many releases do? They iterate. The best companies in AI are not one-hit wonders that just get it right the first time and never change. So you don't learn unless you're doing. So I would encourage you, just get started. It's not going to be perfect. You may make mistakes. You may try something that doesn't work out, but that's by nature how these algorithms work. They're iterative, they're trained, and you need experience, you need examples. So don't sit idly by and watch other things happen. Like join the ranks, and I think that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes, I think it's Winston Churchill: success is not final and failure is not fatal.
Okay.
Right?
Perfect.
Yeah, I love it. Zach, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for the great conversation, and we're really grateful to have had you on the show. For everyone else who made it all the way to the end with us, thank you as well. And hopefully you found some value in this episode. And if you did, please consider leaving a rating or a review wherever you're listening. Also, if you know someone that could benefit from this perspective on agentic AI, this perspective on how founders can get started and what it might take, share the episode with them, introduce them to Zach, because I think it could make a difference in someone else's life. Lastly, take something from today, whether it's the last insight Zach gave us or something else from today, apply it and let us know how it goes, because we'd love to hear about your progress. Zach, thank you again. Everyone else, thank you as well. And we'll see you all next time on Breakthrough Innovation.
For sure. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Zach.